Okay, we're back with more thoughts on tranquility for your child. One of the things we probably have omitted is in today's society, you have a lot of kids that are diagnosed with stuff, ADD, ADHD, and no telling how many alphabet things they've come up with since those. But anyway, part of this tranquility where we teach them to have a quiet and kind of gentle spirit, logically is they need exercise. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know that with my daughter, I scheduled quite a bit of exercise time with her. We had a playground not too far away, and so I would take her to that, and some of it I would play with her, and some of it I would just let her run wild, run. The idea being she got a lot of physical activity, and then later on in the day, she could do a lot more, I would call it quiet, peaceful kind of playing with blocks or puzzles or whatever, and she had no trouble with that. If I'd tried to do that before she'd had some exercise, it'd be more bouncing off the wall situation.
Okay, so there is a proliferation of video entertainment in our culture, so it seems like a lot of video entertainment, video games, movies, you name it, is kind of stimulating to the nervous system of anybody, certainly children, and yet they're not getting any physical outlet for whatever stimulation, even adrenaline, that can be happening inside them, which seems like it produces maybe not so much at the moment while they're doing this, but it creates this higher level of anxiety, fidgeting, just a bunch of pent-up stuff going on that hasn't had any physical outlet, which we're just trying to suggest maybe doesn't produce a really peaceful, physically or emotionally peaceful child, because they need exercise.
Right, and without that exercise, my experience has been they're unhappy, and that unhappiness builds. And so I don't think that you can just kind of poo-poo or blow off a physical exercise component to your child's day.
So our part of the thing is that our culture, once again, seems to think, kids, they have conditions, or kids, they have, a condition, an ADHD, a diagnosis, whatever it happens to be. And a lot of times at school, of course, we'll get into just kids being completely undisciplined, untrained, the very stuff we're trying to help provoke a little thinking about, maybe they don't have. But at any rate, what comes down the pike is that you got kids that don't know how to sit still long enough to learn anything. So because they do have anxiety and they do have behavioral problems because they've never been trained to not hit the guy next to them with something, or to mouth off when the teachers ask them to be quiet. They've never had a spanking in their life, so all they know is that they're going to run amok all the time. We're not really talking about that, though. I couldn't help spitting it out. We're not really talking about that, but we're talking about a kid who simply has various kinds of anxieties, energy level even, that are not correctly dealt with. So now they're going to vent themselves in an unhealthy way. So we're suggesting you want tranquility with your child. The child needs to run off their excess energy and also not be so subjected to electronic stuff for entertainment that might cause nervous agitation, adrenaline, other kinds of excitement or whatever, whereas a healthy thing like a set of Lincoln Logs or building blocks or whatever that allows them to think and process and meditate inwardly about what they're going to build, where something's got to come out of their inward person to create, rather than have everything imposed on them. Then they just have to deal with all this data that's just inundating them, and they have to process that somehow. And and it doesn't mean that they just want to bounce off the wall and really get exercise. It means they need to. But we are seeing, sorry for running on here, but we are seeing a lot of childhood obesity, childhood diabetic situations, and all this because the kids really aren't getting exercise They're just getting inundated with a bunch of electronic stimulation. So their brain's throbbing with exercise, but their body's not.